Hi, Desire from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another record to play for you. Today, record Alibaba and the 40 Thieves for 1963. So let's get started.
Long ago in the kingdom of Persia, there lived a very poor woodcutter named Ali Baba. He had the greatest difficulty in feeding his wife, his son, and his thin little donkey, who used to carry his logs. Now one day, just as he was crossing the forest with his donkey, loaded with logs, he heard a fearful galloping approaching.
These savages are almost upon us. Hide in the thicket, my friend, and don't move. I shall climb this tree and see what happens.
Installed between two forked branches of the tree, Ali Baba saw a large number of horsemen galloping towards him. They were armed with axes and scimitars, and their eyes were glistening. The lower parts of their faces were covered by large silk scarves.
They are thieves, definitely. There are 2, 4, 8, 17, 18, 23, 30, 40 of them. And those great swollen leather bags they are carrying must contain the spoils of the latest robbery.
In the meantime, the horsemen had reached an immense boulder just opposite the tree where the poor woodcutter was hidden. They stopped there, and their chief, standing up in his stirrups, shouted loudly,
Open Sesame!
The rock then parted in two as if by magic, revealing what seemed to Ali Baba to be an enormous cave in the side of a hill. The thieves went in, one after another, which gave Ali Baba the chance to count them again and check that there really were 40. The last of them had scarcely got inside the cave with his loaded bag, and the first of them came out again with his bag empty and got back onto his horse. When they were all on horseback again, the leader shouted,
Close Sesame!
The rock then resumed its normal appearance, and the 40 thieves set off, disappearing beyond the horizon in less time than it takes to tell.
Goodness knows where they are up to now, or for that matter when they will return. But I ought to have time to examine this rock more closely.
He got down from the tree and approached the boulder. But he could not see the slightest sign of a crack. Then he shouted the same words that he had heard the chief of the robbers use.
Open Sesame!
The rock parted in the middle, and Ali Baba went down into the cave. The wealth he saw made him gape until his eyes were as big as precious saucers.
This can't be true. I must be dreaming. There can't be this much wealth in the whole world. Golden crowns, silken scarves embroidered with silver, diamond-studded swords, chests crammed with jewels, precious vases, and this sand. No, it's gold dust. Oh, there are so many things here. The thieves wouldn't notice that I took just a little for myself.
He spread his old coat on the ground and tied up the corners to make a sling bag. Then he filled it with jewels, pieces of silver, and gold dust. He left quickly, loading his precious find onto the back of his donkey and covering it with logs so that no one would notice. And then,
Good heavens, I nearly forgot. Long sesame!
when Ali Baba returned home, he was so excited that he wanted to know immediately the extent of his new wealth. He called to his wife.
My dear, run, I beg you, to my brother Qasim and borrow from his wife a corn measure. This brother of mine has never helped us when we were in need, although he has always been quite well off. But don't tell him anything about what has happened. Just borrow the measure. That's all.
But Ali Baba's wife could not prevent her sister-in-law becoming suspicious.
My brother-in-law's a woodcutter, not a corn merchant. What can he want this measure for? I'll put a little grease at the bottom of the pot. By this means we shall soon discover what he wants to measure.
And so when Ali Baba's wife returned the measure, some gold dust remained stuck to the bottom of it. Qasim's wife ran to her husband.
You see, I told you so. Now we've got proof. Your brother spends his days pleading poverty and his nights measuring out his gold. You go round to him and tell him what you think of such hypocrisy.
I'm going right away. Why, it's possible that this traitor is richer than me.
Qasim arrived at Ali Baba's house just as he was leveling over the soil in his kitchen floor, the place where he had hidden his treasure.
Ali Baba, what are you hiding there? What, me? Hiding something? Not at all. You wouldn't lie to your elder brother, would you? Come on now, tell me everything. Otherwise, I shall tell the magistrates at the Caliph's palace and they'll send soldiers to search your house. Well, it was like this.
Ali Baba told his brother all about his remarkable adventure, begging him not to tell a soul, for if the robbers suspected their secret were known, they would come and kill anyone concerned.
All I want is my fair share of this enormous wealth. I'll go there tomorrow morning with 10 donkeys. Oh, be careful, Qasim. 10 donkeys? You'll be seen. That's too much. Thanks for the advice, little brother. Good night.
The following day, Cassim went to the cave. He hid his 10 donkeys beneath the trees and waited for the thieves to come out and mount their horses. Then the chief shouted,
Close sesame!
all the band went off at a mighty gallop, making a noise like thunder. Then Cassim went up to the rock and shouted,
Open sesame!
He entered the cave, his heart beating. As a precaution, and so that he wouldn't be disturbed in his work, he commanded,
Close sesame!
and the great rock closed up. Cassim started to collect up crowns, jewels, pearl belts, fine golden vases, and all he could get into the 10 large sacks that he had brought with him.
I shall be the richest man in all Persia. But now I must be off. All I must do now is to load up my donkeys and get back to town before nightfall. Oh dear. No, I've forgotten the password. Now don't get upset, Cassim. I know it's open something. Oh, but open what? Open boulder. Open mountain. Open cave. No, it isn't that. It's the name of some kind of grain or vegetable. Open oats. No. Open wheat. No, not that either. Open bean. Open potato. Open pumpkin. Open peas. Open lettuce. Open cucumber. Open artichoke. Oh, please open tomato. Aubergine. Buckwheat. Sunflower. Oh dear. I just don't seem able to get it.
He groped around for hours. He just couldn't remember. And then, just as he had it on the tip of his tongue, he heard outside the voice of the chief of the robbers. The thieves came into the cave where they found the unhappy Cassim scared to death. They soon finished him off with saber strokes. Then they cut him up in little pieces and threw them outside the cave for the jackals and vultures. Two days later, Cassim still hadn't returned home, and for a very good reason. People began to worry and wonder whether anything had happened to him.
My poor husband must surely have fallen down a precipice. Perhaps he's been attacked by wolves. But it's all your fault, Alibaba. You made him start out on this adventure.
Oh, that's quite unjust, sister-in-law. I tried to stop him going, but he wouldn't listen to me. I hope it won't be dangerous, but I am going to make a trip to that cave.
Outside the boulder, Alibaba found the pieces of Kasim's body, and also under the trees the 10 donkeys. They were still tied up and were making such a row because for 2 days no one had given them anything to eat or drink.
Poor old Cassie. You were too greedy. You wouldn't listen to my advice. But you were my brother all the same. I shall arrange for a worthy funeral for you.
Carefully collected the scraps of his brother's body and returned to town, leading the 10 donkeys and wondering to himself how he was going to break the news to his sister-in-law, and also how he was going to be able to keep secret the whole horrible business. In Kasim's house lived a young slave by the name of Morgiana, who was both intelligent and devoted. It was to her that Alibaba confided his worries.
Leave it to me, sir. I have an idea.
After settling her lady mistress in a back room away from the street, so that her sobs and sighs could not be heard, Morgiana went to the other end of the town, to the stall of an old shoemaker.
What can I do for you, young lady? I am the most experienced shoemaker in the whole of Persia, and in spite of my age, I still have the cleverest fingers and the sharpest eyes.
For the delicate task I have for you, it will also need a cool head and much courage.
For courage, I fear no one. As for a cool head, how much will you pay me?
A piece of gold now, and another piece of gold when the task is done. What I want you to do is to sew up the corpse of a man.
Let us go, then.
But I shall have to blindfold you, because you mustn't know where I'm taking you.
First, my piece of gold.
She led him blindfolded to Kasim's house, where the old shoemaker sewed up the scraps of the unfortunate man with such care that not even the cuts showed. Then, when she had taken the shoemaker home again blindfolded, Morgiana let out the news that Kasim had died of a heart attack and would be buried the following day. No one among his friends or neighbors suspected anything. But in the meantime, the 40 thieves had noticed the disappearance of the donkeys and of the corpse. The chief of the robbers held a council of war.
It's quite obvious someone knows our secret. Our treasure is no longer safe. The least we must do is to find the person concerned and kill him. And that is what we are going to do. other activities must cease. I need a volunteer.
Me, Chief.
Abdul. Good. You will disguise yourself as a townsman and explore the whole town and its outlying districts. You must question all shopkeepers and all servants. When you have learned the name of the man we want, come and find us. Now be off. And good luck.
Abdul, disguised as a town dweller, searched the town and the surrounding districts, questioning all servants and shopkeepers. Eventually he came to the stall of the old shoemaker.
What can I do for you, young man? I have the cleverest fingers and sharpest eyes in Persia.
At your age?
At my age? Why, certainly. Only yesterday I sewed up the body of a man who had been cut to pieces.
No.
Yes, and I did it so well that none of the cuts could be seen.
A piece of gold, you take me to the house.
2 pieces of gold.
Very well. Where is it?
I don't know. But if you blindfold me, I would be able to find the place. Because it was blindfolded, I went there and came back.
The shoemaker took Abdul right to Ali Baba's house. Abdul marked the door with a chalked cross so that he should know it again. And then he ran off to inform his chief. But coming back from the market, Morgiana noticed the cross on the door. So she marked all the doors of all the houses in the street with similar crosses. When the thieves turned up to kill off everybody in the house, they were dumbfounded. They either had to kill off everybody in the street, or return to their hideout and have another council of war.
Abdul! You are sillier than a goose! Yes, you deserve 50 strokes of the cane on the soles of your feet! Yes, Chief. You deserve to be cut up in pieces! Yes, Chief. No, Chief. Please, not in pieces. Listen, you unclean son of a lonesome toad! Yes, Chief. I give you one more chance. Take me to this shoemaker and get him to show us this place again.
For the old shoemaker, this was the happiest day of his life. He asked for, and got, 10 pieces of gold. Then he showed the chief of the thieves the way to Ali Baba's house.
There you are. And for 10 pieces of gold, I could take you here every day.
That very evening, the chief of the thieves knocked at Ali Baba's door. He had disguised himself as an oil merchant and was leading 20 donkeys, each carrying 2 large jars. Each jar contained a robber, except for one that really was filled with oil. It had been arranged that at a given signal from their chief, the brigands would climb out from their hiding places and kill everybody in the house.
May heaven bring you joy, illustrious Lord Ali Baba. Could you offer hospitality to a poor, tired oil merchant? My donkeys have been on the go since morning and are tired out. They can go no further. Allow them to spend the night in your courtyard. In payment, I shall give you a jar of my finest oil. Look how good it is.
Believing he was dealing with a genuine oil merchant, Ali Baba treated his guest with honor, offering him the finest place at his table that evening. But Morgiana was very suspicious.
I don't like the look of this so-called merchant. What's more, his donkeys look much too fresh to have been on the move all day to me. I don't see a drop of sweat on any of them or even a speck of dust. I think I must do something about this.
Ali Baba and his guest were eating, she lifted the lid of one of the jars, which were placed round the courtyard. The thief inside, believing it was his chief, let out a sigh of relief.
About time, Chief. I was beginning to get backache folded up like this in a jar for so long.
Morgiana carefully replaced the lid, and in a false voice whispered,
Not long now. Have a little patience.
She did exactly the same with all the other jars, and all the other thieves in them. Then she drew a saucepan full of oil from the only jar that really contained oil, and she boiled it. Returning to the jars containing the 39 thieves, she poured the boiling oil on their heads. All were neatly fried before they had time to realize what was happening. Next, Morgiana went to the room where Ali Baba and the false merchant were finishing their meal. She went straight up to the chief of the thieves, bowed deeply to him, pulled a dagger from her breast, and stabbed him in the heart.
Morgiana, what are you doing?
I just saved your life, sir.
Then she told of how she had discovered the thieves hidden in the oil jars, and how she had disposed of them.
How on earth can I ever thank you, Morgiana?
Your son and I are very much in love, sir, and we would like to get married.
Ali Baba thought that a girl capable of drilling 39 thieves and then stabbing a 40th in less than 5 minutes would make a fine wife for his son, who was quite a nice boy, although a little indolent. Besides, he did not want to upset her. So he gave his immediate consent, and thanks to the treasure from the cave, he was able to keep his whole family in the greatest luxury. His son after him, and the son after that son, and so on, through many generations, had no need of anything. All that was necessary for them was to go into the forest and say to a certain rock,
Open sesame!
At long last, of course, even that treasure was exhausted. Today the cave is empty, and even if you shout, "Open sesame," all day and every day, the rock will never open again.
So that was Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves from 1963. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment. Have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.